VenomousStare Game 3, Innovation vs. Reynor. This is the rubber match, the final game of the best of 3 between the Italian Zerg down here in the bottom right of the very small acid plant, a map I consider to be very Terran favored, especially when it comes to the mid game and holding this area right here. If the Terran goes for a tank push, that's where we see a lot of things come to head in this map. Innovation is his opponent. If you don't know who Innovation is, that's frankly pretty surprising, because this has been a guy who has been at the top of the StarCraft scene since 2013, back when I was a senior in high school. I remember the day I graduated high school, Innovation played in GSL finals against Solkey. Innovation looked absolutely unbeatable. He was this Korean macro machine that just couldn't be touched. He always had way more stuff than the other Terrans, and he would always keep Zerg on the back foot with the barrage of units. Flawless macro. Well, Solkey, his opponent, after going down to 0-3, sort of realized trying to win a macro game against Innovation in this parade push style that he had been virtually undefeated with was fruitless. So what he tried to do was go for big roach bandling attacks in the mid game. And he ended up reverse sweeping that series, the first reverse sweep in GSL history. It was a great series. A Reaper is going to come out here for Innovation, and this is just the very simple scouting opener that lots of Terrans like to do. The reason that you see this every single game, almost without fail, is because the cost is so small compared to what it gives you. Whenever you open with a Reaper, you have to consider that virtually any cheese, oh lord, as Innovation did in fact miss this cheese. So you make the Reaper to scout for the cheese, but sometimes the Lings can sneak past you, and that's what we're about to see here. Innovation sees, oh crap, okay, well, my freaking Marine's out. He's going to try to micro with the SCVs, get the SCVs in front, try to wall off the Marine, and he succeeds, only losing 2 SCVs. Now the Reaper is over halfway back, so this isn't really going to be terrible. I mean, this is certainly annoying, but it's not going to make any buildings be cancelled. It's just going to very slightly delay the production. And we can see here the factory is being delayed a little bit, but the SCV is being microed around in the red health. It is saved, and Innovation is going to try to run down to his natural, and he does. So all things considered, Innovation got very unlucky missing those Lings and only lost 2 workers. He didn't have to cancel any buildings, and that was essentially expert defense. So what do we see from Reynor? Ling speed, love that. Third base on the way. Now he had to delay this Ling speed because that's what happens when you go for these early Zergling builds, but it's not just a 1 or 2 base all in. Notice that Reynor does have a third. There's no way that you can take a gas early and be mining gas and make those Lings and have the money to take a third. That's one thing that newer StarCraft players don't understand, especially if they have trouble with one specific build or strategy. They don't really realize that a lot of times a player is only able to do that strategy because they're sacrificing other things. Creep Tumor was defended there by Reynor. And we can see Innovation did try to use the grenade to kill the Creep Tumor. If you can catch a Zerg right when the Creep Tumor goes down, or when it's about 30% built, you can burst it down, and it's incredibly annoying to lose your first 3 tumors. Not necessarily all of them, but one of the 3, I mean. If a Zerg player is good, Creep is one of these things that sort of grows exponentially as the game goes on. So if you limit it early on, it can actually kind of screw the Zerg up, at least timing and habit-wise. It's not like, oh, 1 Creep Tumor, it's the end of the world. But getting that first Creep Tumor down, and then, of course, the Zerg is going to have plenty of APM in the early game to keep spreading that. If you're an absolute noob, the Zerg uses 25 energy on a Queen to put a tumor down, and then it's an active tumor, and in 30 seconds it can be spread. I think it's 30 seconds. They've been monkeying with the creep spread times recently, so I'm not sure. But essentially, once you see this little timer go out, then this active creep tumor can be spread again, expands out, and the process starts over. This is something Zerg, as we see, this was an active tumor and it was spread out. These both were active tumors spread out to here. And then once these finish, the timer will start all over again. is the Pulp Viking goes down. And that's just sort of a beginner's basic guide to creep spread, because I know a lot of times if you just play Terran or Protoss and you never touch Zerg and you're new to the game, Zerg is sort of weird. It's not really like the other two races. Innovation has a third base out. Reynor is going to test it with Lings. 1-1 range upgrades are on the way for both players. With a couple Hellions out and a Reaper, Innovation is going to be able to do some damage to the Lings, but the Lings do kill an SCV and they're going to run away. That was more of a scout, and maybe just checking to see if Innovation was being sloppy. A lot of times Terrans will land this third and then just drop 8 mules at once and not have it defended because they're pushing. The creep spread is pretty solid here for Reynor. This map, Acid Plant, as we see aggression going down on the third, Reynor trying to catch him off guard again, but not a lot of damage being done there. I don't really like this map to spread creep on as Zerg, because maps that are just have these huge ramps that are just constant one ramp after the other, they're sort of a pain in the ass to spread creep on. Cloud Kingdom was like this, where it's just one ramp after the other. Very irritating. Roaches are on the way, roach speed is on the way, but it's very late. I dare to say perhaps game-endingly late. As for whatever reason, Reynor has had these +1/1 range upgrades, but he did not elect to get the roach speed very quickly. Now, roaches without speed are virtually worthless. On creep, at least you can do something with them, but once Innovation adds in some tech units, this could be difficult. Thankfully for Reynor, Innovation was going for the very, very boring Marine drop. These bad boys, yeah, okay, they were 1-1 and have shield, but this has been sort of the meta for a long time, and the cutest thing Inno did was mix in one mine. And Reynor holds rather easily, because that wasn't the true 2-1-1, oh, I'm going to drop you around 420 in the early game. No, that's not really the case. That was just more of a, okay, I'm taking my third, let's probe around the map. Roaches and Ravagers are the choice. Now, Roaches and Ravagers are good on shorter, beefier maps, especially when you want to run in and sort of drop biles down on a bunch of defensive structures. Reynor does have a crushing supply lead. Inno's going to drop right when the Roach Ravager's across the other side of the map, and the Roach Ravager is going to attack. The weakness of Roach Ravager is the drop and the counterattack, so Inno's going to pull everything here as a lot of damage is being done, but a tank is going to be corrosive biled down. Huge crushing Zerg numbers here as Reynor has a huge supply advantage. The main is being evacuated, the Zerg player slamming forward, and damage is being done, but at the end of the day, the Roaches will pop and mitigate the damage in the main. The tank goes down. This is looking terrible for Innovation. He's very far down in supply, even though Roaches are supply inefficient. He's lost 44 workers. Remember, he pulled his workers to try to defend that. He's down to 25 workers. Roaches are going to be in the main, and Innovation just didn't have the tech units to hold off a big Roach attack in the mid-game. You really need a tank backbone or a lot of Liberators, but if the Zerg elects to make this many 1-1 Roach Ravager, it can be difficult because, as we see here, the Ravagers do have the ability to sort of just boss in and brute force and take the game down, and that's what Reynor does, taking the best of 3 from the Korean legend. If you like StarCraft, subscribe, it's free, you'll get more videos.